Hey y'all, hope you're having a good day so far. You know, I always try to think of a clever way to open my videos, and I had something come to mind today and it gave me a laugh, so I thought I'd share it with you. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Office Space. I can't remember the actor's name, but it's really funny. And the main character, Peter, he has a boss that's just so crazy. I don't even want to go into the description. I want you to watch it yourself if you like comedies, right? But he has this really kind of cheesy way of approaching all the employees, and he'll like, you know, like, hey Peter, what's happening? And so it's like, I can't even think of a phrase like that, like what's going on, what's happening, without thinking of Bill Lumbergh. So if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's really pretty funny. So I hope that if you enjoy comedies, that's a little something that that I can gift you with to open the video to go watch, and hopefully it'll give you some laughs. So today I wanted to talk about us becoming conscious of what our authority is in our life. You know, like, who is our true authority? And I don't think it's something we consciously think about. I know I haven't anyway. You know, I don't want to speak for you, but it's something that, you know, I think I've just always assumed that, you know, I'm in control of my life, especially if you're the kind of person who takes responsibility and accountability. It's like you just kind of know that you're responsible for your life in that manner. So if somebody were to just approach you and say, who's the authority in your life? You'd say, me, you know. But this is something that that can happen, a form of sabotage that can happen with narcissistic people in your life, where they can subtly assume that role of the authority in your life. And it can happen, like I said, so subtly that you don't even consciously catch it. And then because they assume that role of authority, not just superiority, you know, because we all know they make us feel inferior on purpose. You know, they minimize us and devalue us and all this, like, we know that. But not just the superiority and inferiority kind of roles and role playing, but also authority, and then the submissive role. And so what they can do is they can place you in that role in such subtle ways that you're responding appropriately, like you have assumed the role of being submissive without it even being part of your conscious awareness. And I know this firsthand. So that's why I wanted to talk about it today and discuss some specifics for us to think about. We can look back in hindsight, hopefully, if you've already left the controlling situation, narcissistic situation that you were in at some point in your life. I hope it's in your past by now. And if not, I hope that you can find a safe way to exit. All right, so how does this happen, right? They subtly put you in a position of submission and put themselves in a position of authority, and they do it just through different tactics. And I'm sure I'm not going to cover every tactic, but I wanted to at least highlight a few. So one would be just randomly giving you permission when you didn't need permission, or you didn't ask for it, or you didn't ask for their input. And it's not the same as like unsolicited advice, because they do that too. But it's specifically like permission. And you know, if you have been enmeshed in this relationship with this person, or be it a parent or a spouse or a friend, it can happen in any kind of relationship dynamic. If you've been just very much enmeshed and engaged in a relationship with this person for any amount of time, you can engage with them in this role that's forced on you without it even being, like I said, a conscious decision. So this is something where a lot of times when we become aware of this stuff, we can look in hindsight and catch it that way. And then once you have the awareness, if you are still around someone like this, you can catch it in the moment. And that's a beautiful thing, because then you can say, you can say something, you know, like, well, I don't really need your permission on that. You know what I mean? So, so it's just really, it's really eye-opening. So as an example, it may be something where, something totally doesn't involve this other person, and you're just sharing something about your life, you know, like maybe a decision you're trying to make, and you hear them say, well, that's okay, yeah, you can do that, that'll be all right. And you're thinking, when you're aware and you can catch it, you're thinking, why are you saying what you're saying in a way that's like, I asked if it's okay with you when I didn't ask if it's okay with you, because it doesn't really involve you. It's just kind of like, if it doesn't fit, look for instances where it doesn't fit, okay? And I would say that with regard to all their statements, you know, or all their facial expressions or all their actions. But specifically in this example, if it's something where they're trying to give you permission when it's not needed. So, the other thing would be correcting you. We all know that they correct you on the regular, and they can also completely switch up the narrative. And here's what I mean. This is just kind of an odd thing that I've been able to observe through the years. And then again, another situation where once you become familiar with it, then you can anticipate it and you can catch it in the moment. And anytime you can do that, all it does is it just validates you. It validates you know, where you get to the point where you say, I think this is going on, I think this person is doing these things intentionally, or whatever it is. You know, it's not, in other words, it's not like a one-off mistake, because we all make just, you know, one-off mistakes. We may misinterpret something and then respond accordingly, and it doesn't fit. You know what I'm saying? So that's different. That's someone who's just honest and just misunderstanding and saying something that you know doesn't fit because they misunderstood. It's totally different than someone who is who has a pattern, and who is showing you a pattern of behavior through these odd tactics, these oddities. So just look and see if you can catch these things, if there is someone that you're still around, just to validate your understanding. And so when I say not just correcting you, but completely switching up the narrative, here's kind of what I mean as an example. You may just be trying to have a casual conversation with this person, and you may be saying, you know, something like, gosh, it was really windy this morning, you know, when I woke up. Did you notice that? I mean, how was the wind over at your place? Was it just, you know, really strong and erratic, or what? And the person may say, no, it wasn't windy at all. No. And you're thinking, okay, I know you live, you know, a block away from me, so that's kind of odd. You know what I mean? And then as they're talking, you'll notice very quickly they'll start off by disagreeing with you. Okay, this is consistent. I've noticed this with multiple people who have shown me narcissistic traits. Okay, it's very consistent. So they'll start off with disagreeing with you, just a strong no, and then they'll just kind of circle around, and they'll try to assert the same thing you said to them, but as coming from their own mind, like they're the first one to acknowledge something. And you're thinking, I just told you that and you said no. It's really strange. So as in my example, you may have said, it was just super windy this morning, didn't you notice that? They're like, no, not at all. And then they'll just say, you know, random stuff and circle around and say, you know, but they were saying, you know, that it was supposed to be raining, and it didn't rain. You know, I was watching the weather and everything, but I tell you what, when I woke up this morning, it was so windy, it was just blowing everything on my balcony around, you know? And you're thinking, that's strange. You're telling me it was windy when you woke up, and you're giving me examples of how windy it was, and I just started off this conversation by asking, did you notice how windy it was this morning? And you said no, just a hard no. It wasn't at all. So that's just an example, okay? I mean, you can apply this with anything. And it's a form, I feel like, of gaslighting, just making you feel wrong when you know you're right. And so they can't deny that you're wrong. And it's just something where they just mess with your mind. So they say no, but they just want, again, to assume that role of authority, even in something as minor as observing reality. Observing reality. They have to be the authority in that regard, down to the minute detail. It's really, it's really bizarre. So it can be, you know, something that if you both go out to eat and you're like, hey, you know, check out this flavor. It's just super, super sweet. And I expected it to be spicy. And they're like, you know, oh, it's incredibly spicy. I don't taste anything sweet at all. And then, you know, by the end of the meal, they're saying, that was just super sweet. It was just overkill, you know? So again, it's almost like they want to lay claim or be the ones to take credit for something that simple, just to be the first one to acknowledge the weather for the day, or the first one to acknowledge the way a meal was. And so, yeah. The other thing would be sabotaging your efforts on the regular. And this is something that can be very subtle as well. And I know that some of these things are discussed on other channels with regard to just understanding how narcissism works, but I just wanted to present you with some subtleties from my personal experience, firsthand experience, that that may be missed on some of the generalizations when these things are pointed out. I think sharing subtleties like this with people, with each other, who are trying to wake up, is going to really help, because that's sometimes how they operate, just so cunning and sly and just flying under the radar. So the more we can share with one another, the more we can awaken one another, and get this to be like mainstream knowledge, then it's going to be better for humanity. These people are not going to be able to operate out in the open. They'll just be left with one another, and that'll be it. And so that'll be a beautiful thing. You know, it's this terrible, horrible thing to know that there are innocent, honest human beings who are continually exploited and controlled and manipulated. And so, like I said, the more we can share with one another, the better. And we always want to assume the position of authority in our life, because that's what gives us power. If we don't assume that authority, and if we don't work to catch these kind of subtleties in our life where we are being placed in a role of submission, then we're going to basically be living in victimhood. And we don't want that. So let's keep going. So they sabotage our efforts on the regular. And here's an example of what I mean. It can be something as simple as, if you, like for a holiday, their birthday, something like that, you give them a gift, okay? From my experience, they struggle to be happy or show joy accepting a gift from you. Because, again, if they were to do that genuinely, like two healthy people, you know, sharing gifts, it would be like saying, like acknowledging that you have that ability to know what pleases them. It's almost like it messes with the power dynamic that they're trying to keep in place, where you're down here and they're up here. It's like they don't want that to be swayed. So if you give them a gift, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll just be like, oh, thanks. Or sometimes they won't even thank you. They'll just kind of scoff at it, or they'll say thank you, and it'll be like a really tight-lipped kind of, you know, like they really don't want to have to even say thank you, but they do it out of obligation, and then it sits in the closet. Even though you know it's something that they could use, maybe they even said at some point it's something they want, but the fact that it came from you, is going to irritate the daylights out of them. Because remember, these people loathe people who are true, honest people, who are walking and living in their truth, they loathe someone like that. So, so they're not going to truly appreciate a gift from you for a lot of reasons. And then, like I said, it's going to affect that power dynamic in their mind. So, so just kind of notice that. And then they like to be very proud of what they give to you. And so again, it's like, as long as they're giving you something, right, then it's, but it's not, here's the thing, it's what they give to you is not, it may even be something you explicitly said, you know, I can't eat that, I have a food allergy, or I've already got one of these and so I don't need it, maybe just in casual conversation a week before, or whatever it is. So again, you want to look for patterns, because we can all make mistakes with our, our choices for our gifts to those that we love and care about. We can all kind of choose the wrong thing. You know what I'm saying? But I'm talking about patterns. Is what you want to look for. So when you're consistently given something that's just off in some way, but maybe they give you a lot of it, it's that whole guilt tripping. They attempt to guilt trip you on the regular, because you're thinking, well, gosh, they've really, given me all this stuff. Or they may write elaborate, long cards and stuff, the message within a card, but you're thinking it doesn't match the way you truly feel about me and the way you treat me. It doesn't match at all. So, it's just look for things like that are off. And then anything that's coming from your heart, your efforts, it's going to be totally dismissed, denied, belittled, things like that. So gifts are something really interesting, and I've heard other people having different experiences with gifts, so it's different. They're all different. People who have this mental illness, I guess, whatever you want to call it, of narcissism, it's kind of like they all operate a little bit differently. Each person who is completely enmeshed in this this issue of narcissism, the people who are completely engaged in and living by it, they're all a little bit different. And so I just wanted to share my experience with you. Another thing would be, they hate gifts that you like that came from other people. They'll sometimes give them away. They'll take it and give to someone else. They will accidentally break it, or it'll go missing. And on another note, since I'm mentioning that, you may find some of your most special and unique gifts, even if they weren't, monetarily worth very much. They may have been sentimental to you, things like that, or it could be things that, were very expensive that you had. Those kind of things sometimes can wind up missing. And it's one of those things where if it's one or two, you think maybe I misplaced it, but you tear the house apart, you're looking in your cars, it's just totally gone, and then you find another thing that's gone and another thing that's gone, and you notice something that's part of a pattern. They're all expensive, and or they're all sentimental. And you're thinking, I know where I put that. I know I put that up in a special place, but it's gone. Or if it was left out on the table and you walked off, or it was laying there for a couple of days, and then you come back to pick it up, you're going to notice it's broken in a way that, how could that have happened just laying there? You see what I'm saying? So they can't stand for you to be happy, and they can't stand for you to have artifacts from that represent your happiness in any way. So take a look at that, at gifts, at your physical belongings, material belongings that are very special to you, or that are valuable, monetarily. So but they're always sabotaging your efforts. acting like they know better than you with gift giving, that they can give you better gifts than the gifts you can give them. If it's something where you have children, they're going to act like they know better than you know for your kids. They're going to override your efforts with parenting and sabotage your efforts with parenting. You may be working on something in particular with your toddler for their benefit, and you may be making some headway. They can't stand that. So they're going to come in and they're going to work against you in some way. So, and maybe with healthy eating, or, you know, learning manners, just anything, literally anything. You can't share anything new with them, okay? They will always top your story. Always. So it can be something really sad and horrible, and you're sharing with them. They're going to have already gone through that and 10 times worse. Yeah, it's really strange. And again, look for patterns, because it may be true with someone if it's once or maybe even twice, but 15 times over a period of, you know, a year or two, you're thinking, I see a pattern. And then same thing with your good stories too. You know, you can't share your excitement. They hate that. You come to them with something really exciting. They may say they're happy for you, but watch their actions, right? You know, are they cringing? Are they withdrawing? Are they making an excuse to run off because they can't even tolerate hearing you share your joy? So just look for that too. Let me read my notes here. So this is what's hard. Once you come into this awareness, your tactics for trying to assert your independence and your sovereignty, for trying to make sure they understand they are not the authority in your life, your tactics for doing that can sometimes mimic their tactics for control. And in other words, somebody on the outside may see you putting your foot down or calling them out or whatever it is, and they may make the assumption that, you know, you're the one with the problem, or you're the one who's rude or has a bad attitude. And here's the thing, and I want to encourage you with this right here, okay? This is something I had to learn. Someone who truly cares for you is going to not make a quick assumption, like in a situation like that. Someone who truly cares for you is going to invest the time to truly get to know you and form their own opinion. So just be encouraged. And the way I see it is, because we can sometimes let other people control us and be our authority in that manner. Sometimes we can let observers control us in that manner, that it's like, you know, if you're, you know, you've got a lifetime of abuse and control that you've dealt with this person right here in front of you, and you finally come into your awareness and you've woken up and you've started, you know, setting boundaries and putting your foot down, and then suddenly there's people around in a particular situation, and that may wind up being what controls your response when you need to set a boundary in the moment with someone, or you need to stand up for yourself in the moment with someone. You don't want to let the opinion of other people be what controls you and prevents you from standing up for yourself. So when we think about who is your authority, that's what I would have you to focus on. You don't want it to be, I know I don't want it to be, you know, people who are watching. You know, are you concerned with the perception of strangers? That this prevents you from implementing your boundaries or standing up for yourself? Who is your authority? Is it the one who assumes that role? Again, by giving you permission when you don't even need their permission, or by switching the narrative, or, you know, taking credit for something when it belongs to you, or whatever it is, like all the things we discussed, you know what I'm saying? Just start noticing when they are placing themselves not only in a superior role, but a role of authority over your life, specifically utilizing that lens. And then thirdly, is it God? Is God the authority in your life? And I want to share a Bible verse with you, okay? So James chapter 2 verse 17 says, faith by itself without works is dead. And then it goes on later in that chapter to basically say faith is made perfect by works. So I hope that it gives you insight and clarity and validation and encouragement to take the reins of your own life and to truly step into your power as the authority in your own life, right? We have to still, even if you do have a spiritual belief, a faith in a higher power, we still have to do the work to bring a beautiful life into existence. And so, you know, the thing is, I just feel like let the people who want to play mind games with each other, and just gracefully bow out. You know what I'm saying? Just let them have at it. And that's the gift that we can give ourselves, is once we acknowledge and we see this this stuff, and it's, you know, the patterns are the validation, then, you know, we can make that choice to intentionally, because we may have been operating unconsciously as the victim, as the one in submission, playing along in a role, allowing them to believe they're the authority in our life, right? Which is a lie. And so we may have unconsciously been entangled in that, but we want to detangle with this awareness and consciously take the reins of authority in our life, because happiness starts with you, okay? Ultimately, we are the ones, right, that we're waiting for. It's us. It's us. We have to be our own authority. We have to be motivated to get up and not just have a beautiful day, but make a beautiful day, right? Happiness starts with you. Happiness starts with you. So, don't forget to protect it. Don't forget to treat it like the huge pearl that it truly is. So I hope this has been motivating, encouraging. I hope that it's given you some things to think about and another lens to apply as you're walking through this world, as you're creating a beautiful reality for yourself and for those that you love. So thanks again for watching, and I hope that you have a beautiful day. I'll see you again very soon.